They're all over the place. Get them. They're so close.
I got one.
Don't get cocky, kid.
But it's a Pop Roast exclusive. What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I am Shawn.
And we are speaking the language of bromance. Hey, man.
So let's say
I missed you.
I missed you too. It feels like it's been, it's the magic of podcasting. It's been a whole week since we've seen each other.
Theoretically. In a way.
So let's say, I always love, I guess we don't have to say it because we're actually going to talk about it. I love whenever, your wife or your significant other is like, hey, let's go do this thing you don't really want to do because I want to do it.
Oh.
And you're like,
I'm assuming this involves like physical exertion.
Yes.
Like you're running somewhere.
Outside.
You had to run somewhere, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, at least I was on a bike. But it's, Tiffany and I, we just moved. We've had a bunch of stuff going on, so we've been super, super busy. But she wanted to go out. It was a nice day this past weekend. So she's like, hey, let's go down to the trail and let's go for a bike ride. I'm like, all right.
Maybe, okay, like, is it, I mean, this might not be, I mean, I'm a bit older than you, but like, to me, a bike ride is just as bad as running. Because like, I rode a bike a bit ago, and I don't remember how far I went, but I went somewhere and came back, and I felt like I died.
Well, you get that whole like taint pain, like between your ball sack and your a-hole.
Oh, yeah.
And it hurts for like a month. Like just randomly I'll be like, man, maybe I should go get that checked out. And I was like, oh yeah, I rode a bike last year. That's what it is.
I rode a bike.
I forgot.
Maybe I should put some icy hot. No, not the icy hot.
So she's like, I really want to go for a bike ride. And I'm like, all right. I mean, at least this time of year.
It's like your day off.
Yeah, it was a Saturday. So it was a day, just a normal day off.
It was a Saturday, and she's like, let's ride a bike. And then you're like, but there's so many other things I could be doing. Like literally anything else.
There's still a bunch of stuff around the house we need to do and whatever, but we
could rob a bank.
Yeah.
We could, I don't know. We could write Christmas cards in May.
So I'm like, all right, I'll do this just to, kind of appease you, I guess, 'cause, it's nice to do things for your significant other that you don't want to do. So we get everything packed up, and we get down there, and the other thing I hate about the biking is there's always snakes, but this time of year it's they're starting to come out, so you're always going to see a bunch of snakes. And I hate snakes.
Yeah.
Like Mr. Indiana Jones.
I was gonna say, is this an Indiana Jones fear of snakes? Like this paralyzing fear?
It's the one
you
time
see the snake and you're just like, and then does it like rear its head and then do that little like sway back and forth thing, like in Raiders?
Yeah, every one of them does that. It's the craziest thing. No, there was one time we were on this trail. This is kind of a side story to get to this point, but we were riding the bikes, and all of a sudden this big snake was just in the middle of the road, like a big, thick snake. And I stop, and she looks at me and rides right past it, almost runs over it. She's like, what? I'm like, snake.
Like you're in a Scooby-Doo cartoon?
Yeah, exactly.
Snake.
She's like, just ride past it. I'm like, no, wait till it moves, because it kind of slowly started moving. And she's like, well,
so you're going with like the India rule. Like you're it's like in India where you drive down and you see a cow, you're supposed to let the cow pass before you keep going. This is you with snakes.
Yeah. She's like, well,
no, I venerate these creatures.
She's like, do you
go about your merry way, serpent of the ground.
Take the girl. But she's staying on the other side. She's like, well, will you do it for a Scooby snack? And she shows me her boobs, and I'm still like, no.
Would you do it for 2 Scooby snacks? And you're like getting warmer.
She's like, I'm not showing you that. It's like, damn it. Hurry up, Snake. Where'd the Scooby snacks go?
You tricked me.
So she's like, all right, let's go biking in same trail. So I'm like, all right. She says, but there's this like Thai food truck type thing. So we can get some lunch and then we'll go on this trail. I'm like, all right. And it's near a river. So it's kind of, it's near like a kind of a weird campground, kind of like a lot of hippies. When we first got there, it seemed like there was a lot of hippie people and there's a band coming in, I guess. So, I mean, there's,
I'm down with that. Okay.
yeah, I mean, it was
You're
kind of
speaking
neat.
my language. I'm good with that.
It was some dude was gonna play an accordion, and there's a big old like cello, and like it was like, okay, this is cool. We can do this.
Were you
And-
riding bikes around there, or
yeah, there's just like a trail you can ride back and forth along the river. It's like 20 miles or so.
did you did this after you ate? I thought isn't there like a rule like you're supposed to wait an hour before biking?
There should be, because whenever I see those snakes, things can happen.
It's a snake. And then I poop my pants.
So we order our food, and the food was really really good, but the
Food truck
story
food is the best.
oh yeah. There's a place around here that serves like the greatest biscuits and gravy ever.
Food truck food beats any food. But like yeah, like you could like you have like chain restaurants, your Applebee's and your Ruby Tuesdays and Arby's and blah. Like I would take a food truck hands down over any of those places any meal of the week.
Oh, I agree. I've never had bad like food truck food ever. It's always been
'Cause the
really
thing of-
good.
The thing I love about food truck food is the fact that it seems like they take one thing and do it like really, really well.
Yeah. Well, because like chain restaurants,
They have one thing. Like if it's a taco, like if say it's a taco truck and they're like, we sell, and sometimes they put like a weird spin on things. There was this one food truck I went to and all they did was grilled cheese.
Okay.
That was it. You got grilled cheese. But like the way they fucking made that grilled cheese made it the greatest grilled cheese on the face of God's green earth. Like I think they put like macaroni and cheese in it
Uh-huh.
and bacon.
Nice.
Oh, and then they put I don't know what they put on it, but yeah.
Well,
And
that's
I'm
what
like this is amazing.
well, that's what the food trucks have going for them, because like a chain restaurant, they have to, cater to so many different people. So they kind of have to be like okay at just everything. But the food truck,
Yeah.
it's like if I'm in a place that doesn't like grilled cheese sandwiches, hey, guess what? I can move to the next town and maybe they like my grilled cheese sandwiches.
Or move drive 5 blocks up the road and
Yeah, exactly.
maybe they want grilled cheese sandwiches.
But like this is just this place here is just a little Thai place. Was run by it looked like actual I think it's Vietnamese. I'm probably gonna show my ignorance on that, but they seem like they're actual it was actually authentic style food.
Thais are from Thailand, Shawn.
Oh, damn it.
There's actually they actually come from a land that's named after them. Where are Thai people from? Thailand.
That's like
Where
the
are
one,
Oompa Loompas from? They're from Loompa Land.
that's like the one time you could have been like ignorant and actually just said Thailand and been fine. Like, you can't say Chinaland or, AmericaLand. Damn it.
I
They
love
ma-
it here in America Land.
Well, they made damn good food. That's all I care about. That's all I care about here in America.
America Land.
Yeah, speaking of AmericaLand, that is a great segue. So, we order our food, and I'm sitting there, I'm playing on my phone, gonna tweet out some stuff to our listeners, and all of a sudden I hear this guy just kind of holler. He's like, "Oh, you getting some good reception?" It's like, yeah, not too bad. He's like, "Oh, years ago, you used to have to climb up on top of these buildings just to get some good signal." I'm like, "Oh yeah, well, it seems like it's pretty good now." And I look up, and it's just this older looking gentleman, has a huge beard, wearing coveralls.
Oh, like Father Time. Like a
Yeah.
Father Time beard.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
it was huge.
awesome.
It was gray. He had longer like hair, like a little bit of balding on top, but had the long hair all the way. Not really a skullet, but just you could tell he had long hair at one point. It's just turned gray over time.
Oh, see, the first thing I'd say if I saw it, I'd be like, I want to make you a wizard hat.
Like a fat wizard. That is exactly what he was. And
Like, I want to make you a wizard hat.
So uninvited, he just sits down across from me and Tiffany, and is just kind of chit chatting, you know. So I put my phone away. I'm like, okay, I'll talk with this guy while we're waiting on our food.
Do those kind of things bother you? Because they don't really. I mean, like I love it. Like I
Did-
like it being approached and having random conversations with people.
It's okay to me. It just depends where the conversation goes. And
Okay.
this one took a strong left turn at some point. It's one of those like I didn't know where the conversation turned, but it did. Like this was the kind
And
of
then
guy.
by the time you figured it out, you're like, I'm in too deep now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I want to see how deep this rabbit hole really goes. Because he sits down and you know, he's like, you know, what do you do for a living? I tell him, and he asks Tiffany what she does. She tells him, and just kind of chit chatting back and forth. And you know, we just got our food at that point, so I'm kind of getting ready to eat. And he's like, well, you know, what I do is, you know, I own some real estate, and you know, you wouldn't see it by looking at me, but I've got blah 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 amount of money. I'm like, oh, cool, that's nice.
Oh,
And-
see, now see at this point I'd be kind of put off.
Yeah,
Because I'd be like, you know, why are you telling me like if it had come up throughout the course of the conversation, that's one thing. But to like sit down and be like, hi, how are you? I have millions of dollars.
you wouldn't know it by looking at me. Why don't you come back to my trailer and take a look? There's no money here.
I got me a hot tub full of hot chocolate.
Here, I'm gonna put this little hat on you. It's like that hat kind of looks like a cage. It's a big hat. Don't worry about
And
it.
then, yeah, you're like a hot tub full of hot chocolate. He really is a wizard. Tiffany, let's go. Lead the way, Gandalf.
Say it. You shall not pass. Shawn, he's saying that to the police.
He's like, you shall not. Oh, I'm kidding. Come on.
Watch the seasoning. I mean, your step. So he mentions that, and I'm just kind of entertaining at that point. You know, he tells me about the real estate. He asked me if I'm handy. So later, Tiffany said, she's like, I really thought he was either going to offer you a job or like there's some kind of catch to this conversation. Because he did kind of come up like he had some kind of ulterior motive, if you will.
Like he had an agenda. Like
Yeah,
he
yeah,
was looking
yeah.
to hire.
Yeah.
You should have said yeah.
Yeah.
Should have been
sure.
like, oh, or not like totally led on with it. Been like, yeah, you know, I do a couple things here and there. I mean, I'm not one to brag, but I make stuff for IKEA. Like I just put things together and then I take them apart and put them in boxes.
It's you know, it's God's work. I can't help it.
We all have our things.
So it takes a really, really strong left turn after I tell him like I'm not very handy, and he starts talking about money, and you know, it's like old, like he's like, you know, you live on 75 cents but you don't, or you never live on $1. You save your quarter of each dollar you save. I'm like, yeah, that's good advice, you know.
All
You know,
right,
live within your means. That's what we do. And at some point, I don't know when it happened, but I was kind of like, huh? Because you're kind of like half paying attention, half like, man, this food's really good. And all of a sudden, he starts talking about how shitty the country is and everything. You know, typical, you know, kind of conspiracy kind of I get a vibe for. And finally, he's like, you know, you can really tell who runs a country by who you can criticize and who you can't. And I stop and look up. I'm like, oh shit, is he a neo-Nazi or something? Like, is that what he was going to invite me to?
Okay. I mean, like, let me tell you something about the Zionists, and then you're like, shit.
And so he's like, we've got this thing here in this country called political correctness. I'm like, oh shit, where's this going? Because I mean, there's people around, not like a ton of people around, but anybody that walks into this conversation is going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
See, at this point, like, I'm sure, I know I would. I get this kind of smirk on my face. I'd be like, yeah?
Go
Like,
on.
do tell. Please.
So
Here, hold this the end is nigh sign while you explain to me.
Kalik. Oh, this is totally going to be on the front page. So he's like, in this country, you can say, I think he went on like white trash, redneck, cracker. I'm like, oh God, please don't say the N-word. Please don't say the N-word.
Oh no.
He didn't.
Whoa.
But
Whew.
he's like,
That's
but
a near miss.
Yeah,
I
but
was
he's like-
scared there.
he's like, but can you say, and he spouts off like like you can't say anything about these kind of people, these kind of people, these kind of people. And that's instantly when I tuned out. It's
like, look at them Thais. I don't know if you know this, but they're from Thailand.
He's like, you see those people making your food? I'm like, yeah, it's good food. They're Thailand, right? They're from Vietnamese or something like that.
They're from Vietnam land, right?
That's when he's like, oh my God, you're too ignorant to even
Like, what is this, Epcot? No, it's not Vietnam land.
Wisconsin? Is that about right? Wisconsin land? Is that where they're from? Where are we? Where am I?
And then you just wander off, and then you're like, whoo, dodge that bullet.
But he starts going into like this. He's like, I can't really remember specifically, but he starts talking about like how some like third world or third party type thing like runs the money here in America. Something along the lines that like at some point the Federal Reserve made some kind of agreement back in like right before the Depression. And basically gave control of all the money or printing power to some other group. And he started going on about, he's like, if you had the ability to print any kind of money, he's like, I could come up to you and be like, hey, I need $1 million. I'm a good guy. I'm a friend. Would you do that for me? I was like, no, I don't know you. But, I went on with like, yeah, sure. Of course I would.
And leave the Vietnamese people alone, for God's sake.
And he comes back later, or he says later, he's like, well, then what would happen if I came back? It's like, oh, I need like, $300,000. It's like, would you do that for me? I'm a good guy. I'm like, listen, you already said you had a bunch of money. It's like, obviously, if you're coming back, then you don't really know how to handle money. But I didn't say that. I just went along with him. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And he's like, well, that's what they're doing. I'm like, well, who's they? And then he pulls out a tinfoil hat, puts it on his head.
Let me tell you, I have to use this to protect myself before we start talking about they.
Doot. Sasquatches.
Now, let me just get this circus music playing. There we go.
Hey, you gonna? So when he's talking about the money, this is the other thing I thought was interesting. He explains it's like, so the value of $1 is done this. He kind of draws a chart. And he slides it underneath our crab rangoon. And when he did that, when he reached for it, I thought he was actually going to take one. Because he kind of like reached for the crab rangoon in the bowl in front of us. And so I like kind of swipe it back. Like, dude.
He like slap his hand. Like, no.
My crab rangoon. Go up there to the people from Vietnam land. They'll get you some.
He grabs a crab rangoon. He's like, sucker. Then you're chasing after him, and he's like, "You shall not pass!" And you're like, "What? Wait, what?"
I'll just go around. We're out in the
Wizard.
It's like, Crazy Tom, just leave. Quit interrupting people. They're eating. See you tomorrow. So he kind of was. After that, he went down like this whole like, he's like, like if you ask like 70% of the country, they'd say they're Christian. I was like, okay, well, is he trying to convert us? Is that what this is about? And he talked about some event that happened in Russia. I think it was basically at some point, Russia was bad, obviously, during World War II. There's a lot of stories of, them, basically killing their own people.
Yeah, siege of Stalingrad and whatnot.
Yeah, so we kind of
there's the whole thing that like, Stalin killed a lot of his own people, and it seemed like we were kind of fine with that, but Hitler like killed people next door, and we were like, oh, we won't stand for that. After a couple of years.
Yeah, it's always funny whenever I hear people talk about that, because it's kind of in that light. It's like, Hitler did all these bad things, and you're like, well, they don't really talk about it, but Stalin did just as many bad things. But that's where it ends. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, what'd he do?
I mean, like Pol Pot killed like 10,000 of Cambodians, and he died under house arrest. So they just put him in his house. Which I mean, to me, like if you're a former dictator, like you probably have a pretty sweet house,
Oh, I would think so.
So house arrest doesn't sound that bad to me.
He's like, but I can go to my 8 pools, right? Well, not the 8th one. It's a little too far. And you're like, well, I didn't like that one anyway. 7 pools is fine.
So he kills 10,000 Cambodians from because he was the dictator of Cambodia land.
Cambodia land. or as I like to call it, K-land.
So yeah, he killed 10,000 Cambodians and then they put him under house arrest. Like I said, doesn't seem like that bad a punishment.
Well, I mean, and you think about if that happened today, he'd just get his own reality TV show.
He would. It'd just be this like old dictator doddering around his house.
He's like, well, let's see how close we can get to. I don't know. Is that how Cambodian sound?
Sharon! Yeah, he's like standing on like the property line, like, putting the toe over.
Beep, beep, beep. Oh, that's as close as I can get. Oh, well.
Let's invite some Cambodians over. Don't go in that house. See that's Pol Pot's house. You stay away from that house. That's a no house on Halloween. That is a no house.
But the front porch light's on. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
So what else did that dude talk about? So you start getting on that Christian thing and then talking about Russia, and it's one of those things like I'm like, okay, like I really just at this point I really wanted to go biking and get away. But then he starts talking about how he's like, I'm really, really maybe this was, I can't remember the movie, but wasn't there a movie where some guy paid like another like couple of $1 million to sleep with their wife?
Yeah, it was Indecent Proposal.
Indecent Proposal.
Shit, who was in that? Demi Moore and Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
That was like when Woody Harrelson was in like his hemp phase. Like, I like hemp, I want to wear hemp.
I was just thinking, like, maybe this is, if we talked to him a little bit longer, maybe this is what would happen. Because he's like,
so I got a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I got all this money. I don't really need it. And he's like, listen, I'll pay you $1 million to sleep with your husband. Tiffany's like, sold. I'm like, no, he cannot pass. Tiffany's like, well, this is a lot of dough. This is a lot of dough. I
don't want to sleep with the wizard.
Let me show you a magic trick. I don't even like magic. I come out crying. I'm like, well, can I use some of that money for the podcast?
He was very handy.
Yeah. He's like, so are you pretty handy? Can you handle wood at all, sir?
Oh no.
No, I can't. Indecent Proposal of a Wizard. Why don't they make that? Why don't they make that version of The Hobbit?
He just sits around and is like, bring me Frodo and Sam. Now dance, you little hobbits. He's like eating crab rangoon and
balancing on his belly, wiping his face off with his beard. But yeah, so he started taking like, I guess he had been to Cuba and he was talking about how he started talking about how bad socialism is and everything, and about how he's like, I went down to Cuba and I took some of these big pins, and he sits one down. He's like, I'm gonna show you this, or I'm gonna give you this. He's like, well, I'm not really gonna give it to you. It's my pin, but I'll show you. I'm like, okay.
He's like, you can have this. No, I'm kidding. You can't really have it, but you can look at it. It's like an 8-year-old boy. Be like, see this? This is mine. Don't touch it. It's mine.
So he sits this big pin down. He tells me a story about how he went to Cuba. And at this point, he's like, I've been to Russia. I've been all over, which he may have. I don't know. But it's one of those things when people start like spouting all this stuff off, you're like, you're probably just a crazy dude that, you went to, quote, Cuba land in your head. You went to Russia land in your head.
I once told a girl I broke a man's neck because he was trying to steal my wallet.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Did you get some action
from
that?
Didn't really like I was trying to be like I don't remember I don't remember what led me to believe that she would think that was sexy or would be sexy, but I don't know. I went with it, and apparently it wasn't very sexy.
Didn't work.
No.
Well, I'm telling you, if you show somebody a Bic pen and tell them you've been to Cuba land and Russia land, you look pretty darn sexy. Not really, but wizards and their magic.
Right. He's like, they put some weird juju on me.
Shawn, why are you taking off your clothes? It's the power
Next
of the
thing
wizard.
I knew, he had all my crap Rangoon.
So he's telling the story about how he gave like a package of 10 Bic pens to a teacher there. It was like $10 for that, what he bought at Walmart here, I guess. He's like, and all of a sudden she started crying. I'm like, why are you crying? He gets all serious and a little quiet.
He's like, oh, lean in. This
yeah,
is the
pretty
important
much.
part.
He's like, here, put these hats on so they don't hear. I brought extra. And he's like, she says, these things cost $12 down at the market. I only make $12 a month. You just gave me a month's salary. I was like, oh, that's a sweet story. And he's like, yeah, fucking capitalism so bad, isn't it? I paid $10 for all these pens, 10 cents a piece. I go down the dock, there's Jack Daniels and Pepsi and Coke and all this other stuff. And he started getting a little loud at this point, and that's about when I was like, oh, well, we want to get biking, so we'll see you later.
I think I saw a snake back there. I was going to go check it out.
But it was just one of those scenarios where, we sat down. I don't know what his other agenda was, but once he finally calmed down, I was like, yeah, we got to get going. We want to get biking. He's like, all right, well, it's nice talking to you. And as we leave, he kind of follows us.
And he's like, no, wait, Cuba, capitalism. See, like if it was me, like I would see. This is the point where I would make the mistake of making a stupid remark that would carry on the conversation further.
Yeah.
Like, and then we go further down the rabbit hole. Like he would have said like something like, blah, blah, capitalism. Oh, capitalism's so bad. I'm like, well, Cuba does have that embargo. And then he'd be like, that embargo, I'm like, shit. It's my fault. I brought this on myself. It was me, all me.
Another half hour goes by. Why are you taking out that knife, sir? But I don't know if it's just, an old man that just, doesn't have anything going on. But like as we're leaving, he ends up like walking and sitting like just with some other random people. And I'm sure telling them stories of his adventures in Cuba and Russia and how America's going down the shithole and all this stuff.
See, like you always see. I always hear people tell stories like, oh, you should listen, the whole, like, not really so much the listen to your elders thing, but like you should listen to an older person because they have a lot of wisdom, a lot of experience. Like they have a lot to say because they've been through a lot. You should, World War, like war veterans and, older people like that. Like, when they get older, all they really have are stories and experiences and everything. And so, people are always saying you should listen to them. I mean, not necessarily take every bit of advice they give or anything like that, but the very least, like that's somebody that's lived a life that's not yours, and you should, experience that. And I say to that, wander around like a homeless camp and have like eight older homeless gentlemen tell you some stories, and then come back to me about how everybody has something interesting to say. Interesting, yes, but necessary in order for you to function day to day, maybe not so much.
Yeah, I think if you wander around some of those places, you'd probably get stories about, blowing people for different kinds of drugs, I would assume.
Yeah.
That's in California land, right? Where all that happens?
Yeah. And then one time, I took a shot in the mouth.
For a donut. Through the donut, actually. Interesting stories about...
handful of oysters.
Yeah.
Best oysters I ever ate.
You don't want to know what I had to do.
You know where else they have oysters? Cuba. Oh, shit.
Damn it. All right. Here's another half hour. But I don't know, have you ever run into anybody that's kind of like stopped you to tell like just because I always wonder like a person like that, he believes all that stuff he was saying. Like he probably thought that he was doing good by warning me of, the failures of the coming. Because he mentioned like I talk to a lot of older people and they see the world, they see the rate that we're going right now as it's quick and faster than when they were younger and the world's gonna end at some point kind of thing. Because he was talking about like he didn't trust banks, like banks were basically evil. And Tiffany said she's like, I really wanted to ask, but I didn't want the conversation to keep going. I was going like, so all that money you just told me about, none of that's in the bank, is it? No, it's all at my house.
Where do you live?
Yeah. He's like,
Where's
well,
your
I'll
house
show,
again, sir?
I'll show
Where
you.
is your mattress?
I've got a hot tub full of chocolate. That's where I put all my money, into chocolate. It'll last forever.
He like rolls in it.
Oh, man.
And you're like, I want it. And then you pick it up and you're like, oh, it's not chocolate.
Like, I probably should have checked the news. There might have been some, crazy guy that was out running around. That might have been
maybe.
what it was.
I don't have. It's been sometimes that you might run into. I haven't had that experience. I've had the experience where like I'll have slight a conversation kind of offhand with older people here and there. Usually the more interesting conversations I have are in bars with random drunk people, because then to me those get interesting. Like someone that's just like they get a little too loose-lipped.
Oh yeah, let some stuff
and a
slip
bit too friendly. And the thing I love when it comes to like a bar setting is the people that you drink with, especially. And I don't have a regular bar that I frequent on like a weekly or or whatever basis, but I used to. And one thing I noticed is that when you go to the same place roughly around the same time with the same people, because there's usually the same people are there, almost like they never left to a degree. But in a way, I always put it akin to like church.
Okay.
Like you're going to the same spot, you're with the same people, and you eventually develop a rapport with these people, and you have nothing in common, absolutely nothing in common, other than the fact that you were in the same place at the same time on a semi-regular basis.
Kind of like, I guess, like
doing
you say,
the
like,
same thing.
Yeah.
You're both sitting there having some drinks.
You just end up basically getting to know each other because you've seen each other enough that the ice is broken because you know each other from seeing.
Yeah, just presence has broke. Just the sheer presence of having them next to you week after week after week has broken the ice. So then all of a sudden you can go into these weird, crazy conversations because they're like, oh, I know this person. And then it develops into some like weird friendship to where you see, like, if you see them outside of that setting, like you might wave, but usually you don't.
Yeah. That's kind of interesting. Like, you're talking about like, this is the story from when Tiffany and I went to Cancun. It was the last night we were there, and we're like, we want to hang out in the hot tub, and kind of sit under the stars and just have a nice, relaxing time. And it's one of those things when some people just like take their first night on a trip way too far. So we get in there, and there's 6 people in this hot tub, and there's some girl that's like kind of bigger breasted and kind of bouncing around, being real just kind of handsy with a lot of people. Not handsy,
Okay.
I guess, but like very touchy with. There's an older guy, and it looked like was her boyfriend maybe, but just like kind of like real, very touchy, very bouncy, and in these kind of scenarios, always kind of eavesdrop a little bit more so because like I just don't want to get shanked or anything. So I just try to like if stuff goes sour, I want to get out of there quick.
You have this fight or flight. You're like a scared squirrel. Like you're a rabbit in the forest. Like somebody walks in, you're like,
yeah, exactly. It's like
oh,
safe, danger,
Hit.
danger, go,
Nope.
oh,
oh God, I'm out.
take the girl.
Feet
But-
don't fail me now. It's a good girl.
So it's, I mean, like you said, like some people let things slip, and like these, like everybody in this pool was like way drunk. Like the guy kind of came over and started talking to me, and he got kind of like, I almost had the fear like he was gonna put his hand on my lap in the hot tub because he was kind of wobbling around and getting really close to me. But I'm listening to the other.
He like, you know what happens in Mexico.
Yeah, stays in Mexico. Like, no, 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 no,
Stop
likey.
it. You stop it. Keep your hands off of my crab rangoons.
So I ends up finding out that all these people are like, they came down together. They just got there that afternoon, so they've been drinking since they got there.
Oh, God.
And the girl started talking, or the dad said, it ended up being that the girl and the older guy, it was her dad. And he starts saying something.
Really?
Yeah, and he starts saying something about
So
like,
wait a minute. So the girl and like the guy that you thought was her boyfriend was actually her father?
no. So the guy that looked like her
Oh,
boyfriend.
see, okay. I was like, what kind of signals were going on that led to that confusion?
Yeah, it was essentially like a white trash type of scenario. Like that's instantly what went off in my head. Because of this, because like she was kind of touchy. I'm like, I think, you get that feel like whenever you see people, it's like, oh, they're trying to hook up with these people. Like they're going to try and swap partners is what it felt like. And then like,
okay.
it became clear. I'm like, oh, that's her dad, and that guy's her boyfriend. I'm like, all right, that's kind of weird, but they've been drinking, they're having fun, nothing to think about it. But then they start talking about a story how one day, I guess when she was living at home, she came home drunk, and her dad goes like, yeah, I just, walk in the door, and there she is, just butt naked, hanging out right there by the door. And she's like, well, did you throw a cover on her or anything? He's like, nope, just saw her standing there naked, just the day she was born. That's all. Just like, yeah, I was like, Tiffany, let's get out of here before.
That's when you do the fake yawn.
Exactly. But
They're like, it's noon, and you're like,
yeah,
hormones. I gotta go.
yeah. Wow.
I have to leave. My grandmother's on fire.
Oh man, that tequila. But yeah, just like when you say like people let things slip, it's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't say that out in public. It's kind of weird.
The people, like, it's I find it really interesting how random people can, for some reason or another, or who knows what, like all of a sudden they endear themselves to you like your friends.
Oh yeah.
Like there were people that, that would talk to me and share way too personal information. Like, I haven't, like girls would be like, I haven't been with a man in, 18 months. And I'm like, why is she telling me this?
You got some girl hanging on you, be like, you know what? 18 months ago, I was a dude. Now I'm a lady.
Right? I mean, stuff like that. And you're just like, look, the only reason we know each other is because we happen to drink at the same place at the same time regularly.
And
it's like church to me. Like, you remember when you were a kid and you go to church and you'd see the same people, and they're people that like you would talk to when you were there, but like aside from that, they almost like they didn't exist, like they were outside your world.
Well, it's like when you see a teacher when you're in like grade school and high school, when you saw your teacher outside of class. It's kind of the same thing.
Oh yeah, that would totally freak you out.
It's like, oh my God, they exist out of school.
I wasn't one of those
land.
like, oh, teachers. Yeah, I wasn't one of those like, oh, the teachers, slept at the school kind of kids. But there's a separation in your head, and for me, like even people that I'm at a bar and they're at a bar, but there's still a separation. Like we're coming from different places. We just happen to be here, but they get so friendly, especially like because I'm a smoker. And if you go out and smoke with people, and I mean, I am guilty of doing this. Like there were people that like I go out and smoke, and then throughout the course of the night, by the time I would come back and like the person that had been out there like the last 3 times with me smoking a cigarette, depending on my level of drunkenness, like I come in and be like, this is my new best friend because we've shared cigarettes together for like 3 times over the course of the last 2 hours. So
I shared my cigarette, and he shared his dreams, and then I shared my dreams, and then we had a moment.
And he said my dream was good. And I love him for it. He's my new best friend.
He said, just keep reaching for the stars, and that's what I'm going to do.
And I will, Tom. Is your name Tom? I will, Dave. Thank you, Dave.
I don't know. I'm sure I think I've always kind of run into scenarios where I probably would be that kind of drunk more often, but we've had some friends that when I first started to drink, I would start acting like that, and they would quickly basically just, smack my hand and say, knock it off. Like,
that's true. Like I have been with you when you drink, not a lot, but occasionally. And it always seemed like you were like riding this edge of like wanting to be kind of boisterous and, bombastic in a way. But then but I see it like start to kind of eke out, and then almost immediately, like a knee-jerk reaction, I see you just yank it all back.
It's somebody trained me like a dog when I first started.
Apparently so. It's like Pavlov. You're like, let's go. Never mind.
In my head, I'm like, oh man, I want to tell Richard how much I love him and hug him because he's my best friend in the world. Richard, I just want to tell. What do you want to tell me, Shawn? I'm gonna go get some more drinks. Do you want one? Do you want another drink?
I'm gonna get beer. You want beer? Sure. Is that all you needed? Yeah. And then you're walking to get a beer, and I'm like, where'd that sad Incredible Hulk music come from? Walk into the fridge.
I walk back and I hand you the beer, and I'm like, I love you. And you're like, what? I'm like, I said, here you go.
And then the Morgan Freeman voiceover comes in and be like, Richard never knew how much Shawn loved him that day.
But deep down, he knew. He knew. Yeah, that's fun stuff.
I usually try and have something cool, but this time I don't think I do. Oh, I did see a story. See, I feel like I'm always not really the downer, but I always feel like I'm trying to like educate the masses. Did you hear about the Tesla Powerwall?
I didn't.
Okay. So apparently Tesla, which is the company that gave us like the first electric car and stuff like that. Like it seems like they have like all these really big fucking ideas, like big amazing ideas that you're like, that would be amazing. I would love to see that. But then it's not that they don't come to fruition, but you're just, it's one of those, it's the kind of ideas that you hear and you're like, that'd be great, but you kind of Eeyore with it. You're like, but it probably won't happen.
Yeah.
Like
solar.
they had this one idea where they wanted to, well, they've actually kind of started it. They want to create a global array of satellites orbiting the Earth, and with these satellites used together in unison, it would provide a global Wi-Fi network.
Oh, okay. That's pretty freaking awesome idea.
Right? Wi-Fi anywhere you go.
It's like, man, I'm in Vietnam land. I'm gonna get some Wi-Fi.
You're like sailing down the river in the Chang River in Cambodia land, and you're like, hey, I've got 4 bars.
Tiffany's just shaking her head.
They did create the first like 100% electric car in the last few years. One of the reasons, and okay, here to give you a better idea, they want to use, and then the money that they generate from this whole global Wi-Fi network, they want to use that money to funnel into a manned expedition to Mars.
Oh, nice. Okay. So it's kind of, so the money they generate from that, they're going to put it into something that'll, earn money, even more money, so they can actually send somebody to Mars.
Right. They want to put people on, they want to put a man on Mars. Like that's the kind of things we're dealing with here.
So is
So
that?
they created this thing called the power wall. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, is that what's gonna get us to Mars? It's not gonna be, the actual government. It's gonna be
Oh, oh, oh! Here's okay. I actually read this yesterday, and that's what I wanted to. I knew I had something. Scientists at NASA, at the NASA Propulsion Lab, have figured out a way to create a not a faster than light engine, not a warp drive essentially, but create something that propels like a rocket but uses no propellant. They would the engine that they would have, it bounces microwaves inside a closed container,
okay.
and by bouncing these microwaves around, apparently it generates thrust.
All right. Enough thrust to get out of the atmosphere, or would this be what they would use while in space?
Okay, they would use it while in space. They're according to the tests that they've run, they've done 2 tests. According to the first test, they said they can generate speeds up to 10% of the speed of light.
Wow. 10%?
10% of the speed of light, which means that theoretically you could travel from here to the next galaxy, Alpha Centauri, in under 100 years. Like I think it's like 92 or 93 years.
And is this like a renewable thing, or is it something that you said doesn't take a propellant? So what energy does it take to get this thing going?
Well, it would take electric, because like I said, it's using microwaves. It generates microwaves inside a closed container, and the way these microwaves bounce around apparently generates thrust to propel things forward.
Is this so? Would this be enough? Oh, would this be able to actually power somebody to Mars then? Because if it takes only 100 years to get from here to the next galaxy, I mean, you could
Well,
obviously get
yeah.
to Mars a lot quicker then.
Yeah. Well, also, I think one of the other problems is this like it's not like it would take 100 it would take like 92 93 years to get there, but then you also have to account for deceleration, like you still have to slow down so you can land.
Yeah.
So they did this test and they're like, look, this engine works. Like they built this engine and they're like, look, it works. They're calling it the M drive, for electromagnetic drive. And some of the critics and stuff like that were saying like, yeah, but I mean, is this going to work? It's one thing to run the test here, but we're talking about like space and there's a lot of factors in there and blah, blah, blah. And the other thing, the thing that has people really super baffled is they're not exactly sure why this thing works, but it
Okay.
works.
What were they trying to do that they discovered this?
I think somebody had just built, or there was a British scientist that had built the engine. I don't have the story in front of me, but I think it was a British scientist or engineer that had built or developed the engine, and so NASA took the idea and built off of that design and actually ran it, and they're like, "Holy shit, this works!" So recently, within the last like week, NASA released a report saying that they had ran the engine inside of a vacuum, that they recreated space-like conditions, and the M drive still functions.
All right. So theoretically,
So not only is this like something that is possible, this is something that they have built and tested, not only just just to see if it works, but tested it inside the a replica of the vacuum of space.
so I guess would the next step be to like test this on like some kind of satellite type thing in space? Are they moving forward with that?
I think that's the plan. Yeah, I think they want to try and test it on like a satellite or do some sort of small scale thing.
So do you think?
But the thing that, like I said, the thing that NASA even puts it in the report, they're like, the way this drive works, like the way, by bouncing these microwaves around and then it creates thrust, it actually somewhat defies the laws of conventional physics when you're talking about when you're talking about laws of motion and things like that. According to everything we know about physics, this shouldn't work, but it does. And not only does it work, but we're able to replicate it. Like we built it, we tested it again inside the vacuum of space, and it works. But we don't know why it works.
It's a little too early for this, Rich, but you know what that is? It's wizardry.
What? It's what?
It's wizardry.
Wizard!
So I was thinking just now, so do you think that the government and them will try to set the mission to Mars kind of privately before they attempt to actually do it?
Honestly, at this point, considering the fact that our government has like no interest, I feel like our government has no interest in the space program. It seems like one of those things that, like, yeah, we give them a little bit of money, but I mean, if they do something great, but a lot of time, but if they fuck up, then we all look like jackasses. And so it seems like
yeah.
the modus, it seems like the MO anymore is to just not give them a lot of money and keep them quiet.
Well, that seems kind of, I mean, so they send somebody to go to Mars. I mean, going to the moon was one thing. Going to Mars is like a whole different ball game, I think. Mars.
I agree. And also, but I think when we're talking about a manned expedition to Mars, I think it's going to be. Is it going to happen within our lifetime? Possibly, but I think it's going to be a private, third-party entity that's going to be sending those people.
I'd buy that because I mean, if that screws up, and they always talk about it too. The mission to Mars is a one-way trip. They're pretty sure there's no way they could get somebody back.
No, from what I've heard, that they could use, if they figure out a way to convert the soil, because the soil's rich in, I don't remember what, but they could convert the soil into fuel. The dirt on Mars, they could convert it into fuel for the trip back.
But would they have the power and the rockets to get from Mars out of that atmosphere? I always thought that was the issue. There's no like launching pad.
I don't know. But if we're using this electromagnetic drive, like that whole point's been rendered moot.
If it's
because
I guess,
this thing burns no fuel. It there's no propellant. It's just like running your microwave.
I'm standing on my microwave this evening, and Tiffany's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm going to the Mars." Boop, boop,
I'm going to Mars.
Beep.
Hold my feet. You can come too.
I fell and hit my head. Oh.
Shawn, you should go to bed. I should go to bed.
I've never thought about that, but yeah, I guess it is a big risk for the government to try and do that because something's probably like the risk of something not going right seems pretty high, and like you said, you'd look like a jackass if somebody they don't even make it to Mars because of whatever happens. But
exactly, it runs the risk of two things: either A, nothing happens, and then people are like, well, this congressman approved $400 billion to NASA, and look what we have to show for it. Like, oh, it's just another government waste and blah, 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 blah. But then the other and slightly worse case, the other and slightly more, dangerous case
tragic.
is, something that somebody dies, and then it's like, why didn't we, do this, or why didn't we do that? And honestly, I think it's become like almost like this political third rail that you don't, nobody puts their hands on it.
I mean, even if you make it to Mars and come back, I guess you'd be, remembered forever if that ends up being possible. But like you said, the risk of it happening, it's like you look, you're the one holding all the responsibility, even though it's a bunch of people. Like whoever's president at that time would probably do it. Whoever's in Thailand would probably have some effect in there too and get in trouble. So
But yeah, I think that at this point, I think it's going to be a third party. It's going to be like Virgin Airways sends a man to Mars, because then I think number one, it eliminates that whole political, debacle, because it's like, hey, it's a private company, it's their money, they can do whatever the fuck they want.
do you
And
think
also, like, if something tragic happens, then it's like, well, that guy volunteered for it. We're like, look, we're trying to put people on Mars, and this guy's like, I want to go to Mars. I want to be on that mission.
yeah, they signed all these waivers. Who do you think would be the advertisers on that? Do you think like Virgin Air would have like all these different sponsors on the side of the ship, like a NASCAR?
Be like, on the way to Mars, sponsored by Pepsi. The road to the red planet, brought to you by Budweiser.
Bringing a case of Bud to the Martians.
You boys like to party? Woo!
Pass blue ribbon, going to Mars. Mars rover, brought to you by Goodyear. They got to make money somehow, I guess. Because weren't they going to do a reality show on the people that were going to train to do that? Did that ever happen?
I have
or
no idea.
I thought
I'd be down to watch that, though.
We're gonna get to that point where this will be a reality show. Getting to Mars will be a reality show. It has to be.
I don't know if I feel good or bad about that.
It's kind of like a Idiocracy, that movie.
Yeah.
Where he's the smartest guy coming from here, but he's the dumbest during this time.
So yeah, manned mission to Mars, and a drive that apparently you can power on. Apparently we might be able to go to Mars on our microwave.
Oh man, could you imagine that? Oh, this is who's gonna sponsor us, Hot Pocket. going to Mars in the microwave. Well, while you're on your way, just throw in a Hot Pocket.
It seemed like if you were the astronaut, you could just chuck them in the back of the rocket. And then, like, as soon as they're like, okay, well, we're up to a good speed, let's flip the engines off. We'll just let momentum carry us. And then they flip the engines off and be like, you guys want Hot Pockets?
Well, you don't even have to turn it off. It just dings. It just goes off on its own. And you start...
Yeah, they're going. They be like, you have just crossed the atmosphere.
Bing! And they grab their Hot Pockets, like, oh, hot. Oh, cold.
Oh. I burned my mouth. Here's my mouth.
Who's the problem? It's like, why are you talking like that? I burned my tongue. It's burnt.
I burned my mouth. Bring us milk. Do you have milk?
Oh man.
But yeah, 10% of the speed of light. So what's the speed of light? Like 186,000 miles per second. So 18,000 miles per second. No. Yeah.
Could we even survive that though?
I don't know.
It's almost 300 million miles per second. So 10 million miles per second? No,
I thought the speed of light is 186,000 miles per second, right? That sounds right. That's what I thought.
Oh, it's in meters. Damn you, Google.
I'm a geek, I'm a geek. So the reason I remember that is because I used to have this card that would explain the speed of things, and it had Marvel superheroes on it, and they're like, if you were able to go this fast, then you are blah blah blah. If you're able to go this fast, if you can travel the speed of light, I think it was like the Silver Surfer.
I gotcha.
Like Silver Surfer can travel the speed of light. That is 186,000 miles per second. I'm like, so they're going Silver Surfer fast.
10% Silver Surfer.
10% of Silver Surfer fast.
They're going the speed of the surfboard.
Yeah.
No?
Maybe. I don't know.
That's all I got. I don't have anything else. All right. Well, you want to throw any Richard's closing thoughts in there?
Yeah, let me tell you about the government.
I got a lot of money, and I don't trust banks.
I don't know if you know this, Shawn, but I have a lot of money. And I know that you're not quite handy about things, but I think that this story shows a perfect example of how fear can control you, because if you had just gone past the snake
Yeah.
at the very beginning, or at the very least said, "No, I don't want to go biking today," you could have avoided this entire debacle.
Sometimes saying no is the right thing to do.
So I think the moral of the story here is, kids, sit on your couch, because fitness can be scary.
Crazy wizards won't try to get you to get in their vat of hot chocolate.
Crazy wizards will try to bring you over to their house, their house, and sleep with your spouse for money,
That they don't really
or
have.
sleep with you for money. So you just stay on that couch, kids. You stay on that couch and listen to podcasts.
All right. Well, I'll do a little housekeeping. Visit our website at languageofbromance.com. We're on Twitter at languageofbro. Email us at eatthebeaver@languageofbromance.com. Like us on Facebook and leave a review and subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher.
And also, don't forget our lovely, lovely home that we built with our own two hands, the Pod Bros Network.
The best podcast.
This old house of podcasts.
I'll give John, all the credit. Yeah, I don't think we deserve any of it.
No, we don't deserve any of it.
But
I was picturing a house. I'm like, I would like to. You know what? We did something. We put in the door sweep. We put the welcome mat. We bought them a lovely house. We got them a lovely house planned.
We showed up after they're around for about a year and said, "Oh, hey, we got you a housewarming gift." It's like,
hey,
oh well, the house
here's
has
a
been
cactus.
It's a bromance cactus. Hug it. Don't really
hug it.
Bromance
cactus. Look, it has our logo on it.
That's not your logo. That's just a needle. Well, Can we come in? No, go away. Ah, oh, damn it. All right. Well, anything else before I close her out?
No.
All right. Well, that's all
Leave it all in the field.
That's all the bromance we have for this show. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard.
And I say we eat the beaver. Let me tell you about the government.
You really did sleep with that guy, didn't you?
Yeah, we got a bunch of bromance shirts coming. They're going to be covered in tears, but
your tears.